In this tutorial, we're going to repair this photo using the clone stamp tool. Each circle represents a spot that needs to be repaired. So the first thing we want to do is replicate the picture itself. So I'll right-click on the layer in the layer window with the picture. I'll choose Duplicate Layer. Under Documents, I'm going to choose New. And that's the one we're going to work on. The one with the circles will be used for reference. So I'm going to minimize it, and I think I'll just swap these on opposite sides. Now we're going to use the clone stamp tool here, and we're going to start by repairing the crack that runs down the photo from the top down to this man's head. To get started, I'm going to introduce a new layer. I'll go down to the bottom of the layer window and I'll click on the new layer icon, and I'm going to name it Clone, and then I'm going to hit S on the keyboard, and that's going to take me to the clone stamp tool. Looks like a little rubber stamp. Now the reason we've got a new layer is because we can repair this photo without actually altering the original file. Once I've got the stamp tool, I'm going to go to the option window at the top, and I want to make sure the mode is set for normal, opacity 100%, flow 100%, and then very important, sample all layers. That's going to allow me to go down through the invisible layer above to the photo below and repair the content, leaving it on the new layer. Now the way the stamp tool works is it's pretty much a copy-paste brush. If I take a brush, and I'm going to make the brush about 20 pixels, I'm going to put the brush to the right of the photo that is still in good shape. So I want to send this information that's very similar to where it's ripped over to it and cover it. I'm going to put the brush to the right hand side of that. I'll hold the Option key, and when I do, the brush icon turns into a target. I'm going to click with the left mouse and then let go of the Option key. Now if I would put the brush over the damaged rip, it's sending the content over to where the area is damaged. If I click and drag now, I can actually see a little X to the right of the brush, where it's sending that information under the X over to where the brush is located. So I can simply drag all the way down. Now right where we get to his head, I'm going to make the brush a little bit smaller using the open bracket next to the letter P. And then I'll Option click here, and I'll click there. Now I missed a little piece there, so I'm going to Option click here, and now I can paint there. I'm going to do the forehead by sampling the area just to the right of the damaged, ripped. I'll Option click on the forehead, put the brush icon over, click and drag and paint. Now I'm going to repair this spot. I'll start with the larger brush, and I'll Option click anywhere near the damaged spot, and then I'll paint. Now I'm going to repair the rip on the left hand side of the photo. I'm going to zoom in, I'll hold down the Option key, click above the rip, take my brush and start to paint. Now you have to go very gradually when there's changes in the photo, the darker value, lighter value here, so I'll reduce the size of the brush, click here, paint down to where the jacket begins, and I think I'd like to use some of these ripples that are on the sleeve already to repair the damaged area. So once again, I'll Option click here, and then I'll start to paint. And for this area right on the front of the jacket, I would want to use this area. So I'll Option click here, and then click and drag with my brush. Now I'm going to get rid of that Scotch tape. I'm going to use this area here to cover it. So I'll start by making my brush a little bigger, and then I'll hold the Option key and click over in this area, and I'll start to go across. Then I'll stop, click again, and go across the top. And if I need to, I'll make a couple of more swipes to get it as close as possible. For this one, I'll start here, come across like so. I'm going to get the spot on the jacket, and again I'll start with my brush. I might make it a little smaller. Option, click down in this area perhaps. Go there. Now from the top, now if we look at the reference photo with the circles, you'll see that number 8, the foot is missing, and that's a little bit different process. All I'm going to do is go to the layer with the actual photo, select it. I'll hit L on the keyboard to get my lasso tool, and I'm going to go in and make a broad selection around the foot that remains on the right hand side. I'll go to Edit, Copy, and then Edit Paste. Now I'm going to transform it by hitting Command T and right clicking inside and choosing Flip Horizontal. I'll put that over on the other side where the foot is missing. Now I'm going to zoom in on it, and using a layer mask by clicking on the layer mask icon at the bottom of the layer window, hitting B for brush. I'll reduce my brush size maybe about 40, reduce the hardness by about 50%, and then I'll go around the perimeter and softly blend that in with the leg. I'm going to use the same process for the head. And then when I come back, I'll have the photo repaired, and then we'll do the tinting on this. Now that I have the photo now that the photo is repaired, I'm going to flatten the image and turn it into black and white. In the upper right hand corner of the layer window, I'll click on the series of horizontal lines and I'll choose Flatten Image. I'm going to close out the reference file because we don't need that anymore. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom of the layer window. I'm going to click on the little black and white circle. I'm going to choose black and white. Now the next thing I need to do is repair the values on this. It's kind of dark and gray. So once again, I'll go down to the black and white circle and I'll choose Levels. Now in the Levels Properties window, I'm going to drag on the little white triangle on the right, directly below that waveform. I'm going to drag it until I get to the beginning of that little ascending mountain peak. Then I'll go to the far left-hand side, I'll get the dark one, I'll drag it to just the beginning of the mountain peak on the left-hand side. Now that I have what I want, once again I'll go to the upper right-hand corner of the layer window. Clicking on the white lines, I'll choose Flatten Image. Now we're going to add a series of layers, and we're going to tint this photo, all the characters as well as the background. I'll start by putting a new layer in, and I'll call it Jacket. And I'm going to color this man's jacket that's standing up on the right hand corner. So I'm going to zoom in on that, hitting Command plus. And I'm going to go to Window, and I'm going to choose Swatches. I'm going to pick a random color here. I'm just going to pick a color, maybe this red. And I'm going to get my brush, and I'm going to make the hardness 100%. I'll start by painting over his jacket. Now, I can't see the photo below. So that's where I'm going to go to my layer window now, and I'm going to choose a blend mode. I'll click on the layer window, and with that layer jacket selected, I'll go from normal, and I guess I'll choose overlay. And then I'll continue to paint on this. Now, I would go to each individual, and I would change the color of his jacket, and I would change the color of his pants and his skin complexion, and then finally I would do the background, assigning each of them to a separate layer. So I'm going to paint his jacket. and then come back, and then we'll paint his pants. Now that I have his jacket now that his jacket is painted, I'm going to color the pants. I'm going to add a new layer. Once again, I'll choose a color from the swatch menu randomly, maybe a green. I'll hit B on the keyboard and I'll start to paint his pants. Now the photo, because the layer is set to normal, will be opaque. I can't see the photo below. So I'm going to go and choose another blend mode. Maybe I'll choose multiply. Oh, let's go with soft light. And you can see now that I can fill in the pants, and using a different blend mode, a different layer, I can maintain the blend modes and the colors I want individually. Now once I've got his pants in, I'm going to add yet another layer, and that will be for his face. I'll go to swatches, and I'll pick a color for the face. With my brush, I'll paint over his face. Often enough, it's easier to introduce the color and then change the blend mode before you complete the painting process. So maybe I'll use color for this one, and then I'll continue to tint his skin. Now I'm going to continue and do all the rest of these people with different colored jackets and pants, shoes, and then finally the background. And then I'm going to come back and we'll look at the final result. Here's the completed tinted photo, and you should have something like this when you are finished.